Listen to me. If there was a wise man who would ever think of this, they would say in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. For I am the man himself.
Hello all, what is going on? How you guys all doing again? This is the Club of the Man 1993, and we're back here for my third 24 review of the day as we look at WWE 24's WrestleMania Monday. And we're finally moving away from the WrestleMania 32 stories, because the last three have kind of revolved around that, so I'm kind of ready to move on a little bit further after this. But we're going to talk about the WrestleMania Monday 24 special. That was a little bit shorter. It was about a 35-minute documentary. Not bad. Definitely not as long as the past couple ones, but still a fun one that really emphasized, well, at the time at least, the excitement and the importance of WrestleMania Monday. The Raw after WrestleMania. Usually one of the best Raws of the year. I unfortunately think, though, that has not been the case for a while now. I would say since Raw after Mania and WrestleMania 9, from WrestleMania 35, that point on, yeah, we haven't had a good Raw after Mania in a long time. Well, last year's was better. This past year's was better. It was nothing great to write home about, but either the concepts kind of died off, or I don't know. But it definitely, like 2016's, that was an excellent episode of Raw. A very exciting one that you, of course, got to relive here. And again, it was one of the hottest crowds, just coming off of WrestleMania. Excited to see some of like the big moments that have happened. Well, again, this past WrestleMania, the WrestleMania 32 was a little mediocre, as we discussed in the last one, but had a lot of moments in there. A lot of things to look forward to. NXT was hot. Could have been a lot of main roster call-ups. A lot of people out with injuries that could have came back on this episode of Raw. We did have one of those. We also had a 5-year return as well, and some main roster call-ups as well make their debut. And of course, they did kind of go back and talk about like the history of the Raw after Mania, about some moments that happened on there as well. So we're getting into all of that. So we'll talk about, of course, the Raw after Mania, like previous moments they talked about. They briefly addressed moments like Goldberg making his WWE debut in 2003, Brock Lesnar returning in 2012. We also had they also emphasize, of course, how energetic the crowd is, how loud they are, the beach balls, and random little chants. Like, of course, at the Raw Mania in 2016, they had the 4 guys who were going to come out and have the main event, which is the Fatal 4-Way #1 Contenders match for Roman Reigns' world title, which is the first night he said the line of, "Aw, come on, guys, I'm not a good guy, I'm not a bad guy, I'm the guy," which, of course, he was still, the over-pushed babyface at the time that everybody was rejecting. And even, of course, said, though, in the previous documentary, he has his doubters, but he also has his supporters. So as long as they're staying, that's all he cares about. Of course, we didn't know that yet, but the following year, after WrestleMania 33, where he beat The Undertaker and got that horrendous amount of boos in that opening segment last year, and all so bad so that all he could say was "This is my yard now," and that's it. But but that was, of course, for the future. We're still living in 2016. I'm just about to graduate college here, which was true. This WrestleMania was a month before I graduated college. But yeah, they also addressed They also shared that Paige made her main roster debut and immediately won the Divas title off of AJ Lee in 2014. 2015, only thing I remember really well, they had Sheamus return in 2015 with his new look and turn heel and the whole "you look stupid." Neville also made his main roster debut in 2015 as well too. So basically setting up for what was going to happen at this WrestleMania Monday. Before they kind of like brush through like other things that happened, they also they briefly showed when Vince came out to open the show, and they brought out people were hot for Shane, and they didn't show it, but of course Vince said, "All right, I know I told you if you lost you can't have it, but I'll give you a shot. You can run Raw and see what happens." Which of course Raw actually that summer before the draft was actually pretty good. So I was wishing it kind of was like that storyline time when they first brought back the brand split of like, okay, Raw is good under Shane, but it sucks under this person. I was kind of really hoping they would have made that a storyline. They didn't really, but, you know, it was still a nice, fresh thing we got there. They did, of course, talk about, of course, like some new faces and call-ups. They briefly showed how Apollo Crews made his main roster debut on this show. Baron Corbin had made his main roster debut actually at WrestleMania 32 the night before and won the Andre the Giant Memorial Battle Royale, and he had his first match on Raw and had a series of never-ending matches against Dolph Ziggler. He had. They did show Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson were backstage at the show, and they signed their WWE contracts. And of course, Luke Gallows, who had been with the company before, was returned after a good, 5-10 years, however long it was. But they didn't debut on this show. They didn't debut, I think, until a week or two later on Raw when they attacked the Usos. They were involved with the Roman Reigns and AJ Styles storyline, but AJ Styles was still a face at the time. He didn't turn heel until he started his feud with John Cena, which I believe was on the Memorial Day episode of Raw, I believe, when that happened. Because that's when John Cena came back from his rotator cuff injury. So they had that as well. They also had Maurice return on the show as well. She returned during when The Miz challenged Zack Ryder for his recently won Intercontinental title. And they had the whole thing where Zack Ryder's dad tried to get involved, but Maurice came out of the crowd, slapped his dad across the face off the distraction. Zack Ryder, unfortunately, lost his title. Just one day after having, not even 24 hours after winning it, unfortunately, which sucks for sure for Zack for losing that moment so quickly. I felt bad. But on the bright side, though, was this did start The Miz, in my opinion, on the 2-year run of his career. Because from 2016 till 2018, when he dropped the IC title to Seth Rollins, he did have a brief hiatus with the in-between in 2017 when he dropped it to Dean Ambrose, but won it back when they both got moved over to Raw. That was definitely some of The Miz's best moments of his career when he was Intercontinental Champion twice, or however many times it was. No, 3 times. Yeah, because remember, later in the year, he dropped it to Dolph Ziggler for a month. That underrated feud, remember that? The career versus title match, No Mercy? Should have been that pay-per-view, by the way, but, that it is what it is. But yeah, he won the Intercontinental title 3 times during the next 2 years. And like I said, definitely some of the best work of his career. By far, just outstanding work for Mike Mizanin, for sure, during that time. And again, it was Maurice's return. Him and Maurice got to work together. And, yeah, great stuff. Of course, they eventually led them having their 2 girls, Monroe and I can't believe I forgot who else his other daughter's name was, but yeah, but still, definitely got to mention that there as well. As far as call-ups, also getting back to them, the one they focused on the most in this documentary was Enzo and Cass. They were definitely the most hyped up. People wanted to see them. They also want to see maybe Bayley as well or Finn Balor, but Finn Balor was still the NXT champion. Bayley had some unfinished business. She would come to the main roster full-time after SummerSlam. She did, though, I forgot to mention this also, she did, though, have her first main roster match actually at Battleground, where she appeared as Sasha Banks' mystery tag team partner against Charlotte Flair and Dana Brooke, which Dana actually debuted on the main roster as well not too long after this too, because that's when they're going to they were bringing Emma back up to the main roster. They're going to bring up Dana with her, but then of course Emma got hurt and Dana went on to be Charlotte's protege instead. But yeah, so Enzo and Cass were the main storyline as far as like debuts, because they were definitely one of the hottest acts in NXT at the time. Watching this did make me miss them. I still have my opinions on Enzo Amore personally, not towards his allegations that got him fired. He was proven innocent by those, so that I don't hold against him. I guess the way he did business for himself just always kind of bothered me. I just thought it was very like childish and not so mature of him to do so. But, you know, they both had long journeys. Emphasized that they were told they would never make it. Cass, of course, also, and this is long before Cass dealt with his, like, sobriety issues and whatnot that he's shared about in recent podcasts he's had. Yeah, he was around in FCW in 2012. You even saw him. He definitely looked very vanilla. He didn't look like he really had much to him. He was basically threatened to be fired a lot, and he even said he was once told that the only reason why he had not been fired at the time is because he was 7 feet tall. Literally, it's the only reason why they kept him around, because he was 7 feet tall. But of course, him and Enzo figured it out, became one of the hottest things, and they were told backstage while at WrestleMania at NXT TakeOver Dallas that they're moved up to the main roster that coming Monday on Raw. And they had that super hot debut where they confronted the Dudley Boys after the Dudley Boys had their match with the Usos. And they came out to confront them afterwards, cut that excellent promo, and it was off to the races from there. Unfortunately, they didn't have the strongest run on the main roster. They were together as a team for a year before they broke them up, and then Cass got hurt. Enzo got fired, and then Cass got fired later in 2018 after he returned, and then kind of went into business for himself. That's where his drinking issues really went into play. But again, it sucks that I've soured on Enzo as a person, but man, watching this stuff back, it's like, man, I really miss those guys. And I really, really wish they would have been able to have some of those moments, and because I think easily they could have been a Hall of Fame tag team. They were that great and could have been a Hall of Fame tag team. But, you know, this was still... Even, of course, I think Enzo said something like, it basically said, if this was it and tomorrow was not guaranteed for me, I would be set with this moment he had on Raw with him and the Dudley Boys. And then, of course, they highlight over a few other things that happened on the show. They showed when the New Day took on the League of Nations. Afterwards, the Wyatts attacked League of Nations, which that was very interesting, because that was the first time they ever teased a face turn for Roman Reigns. Remember, like, it was like a week or two later when Roman Reigns teamed up with Bray Wyatt, and they took on 2 members of the League of Nations. Well, also, that was this Raw WrestleMania was when they kicked out Wade Barrett out of the League of Nations. That's right before Wade left the company. But of course, not long after this, the League of Nations was disbanded. The League of Nations just sucked. I'm sorry. I liked everyone in that stable except for Del Rio, but that stable just sucked. That they were literally just bodies, just like heel bodies to feed Roman to during that time, because they had nobody else, unfortunately. But yeah, I was very interested in what they were going to do with Bray Wyatt as a babyface during that time. Some say the long-term plan was for him to eventually turn on Roman and for him to challenge Roman for the title. But I still would like to see what they would have done with him as a babyface. Because after that, he got hurt. They were out for a few months. Brought them back as heels before they kind of like scattered throughout the roster when the brand split came back. But that would have been nice to see, of course, as well, where that would have gone. And of course, they did talk about the main event, which was supposed to be, it was really supposed to be AJ Styles, Chris Jericho, which when Chris Jericho was cut a promo on Roman Reigns earlier in the night, he did like call everybody the stupid idiots, and everybody's chanting, "We are idiots! We are idiots!" And that was right when Chris Jericho was planning on staying for another year with the company, and like kind of like really play out this heel run he was going to have, which of course resulted in him and Kevin Owens being a tag team. But But yeah, the main event was supposed to be on the show. It was supposed to be Chris Jericho, Kevin Owens, AJ Styles, and Sami Zayn in a fatal 4-way for the and the winner would face Roman Reigns at Payback. Well, then they did an injury angle where Kevin Owens rode Sami out of the match. So there was like a mystery fourth opponent. I thought it was going to be Dean Ambrose. I remember when it first happened. I was kind of like, I don't know why I wasn't feeling it. I'm like, I guess I wasn't ready for, because I knew if Dean Ambrose faced Roman, they were going to make someone a heel. They probably would have made Ambrose the heel. I wasn't ready for Dean Ambrose to be a heel at the time. So I'm like, okay, who else could it be? And I totally forgot about him. But that's when Cesaro came back. Cesaro had been out since November with a rotator cuff injury as well. So he made his return. That's when he debuted his new like 007 entrance, where he kind of like did like James Bond to the Swiss Superman and whatnot, which I think really, like, the year before when Vince basically said he was Swiss but he was missing something, had no character, he basically said screw that. And 2016 was a strong year for Cesaro, I feel like. It's a shame though, well, I should say it's a shame that that basically his push to the top resulted just in him and Sheamus being a tag team. Yes, they would have a good run together as the Bar, but it's like still, it's like another moment they had to make Cesaro a main eventer, and instead they just didn't go through with it. Again, he didn't get his only one-on-one world title shot till 2021, but that was just a kiss up to him just so he didn't leave the company. He would leave the company a year later, go to AEW, which he's done better there since, of course. But yeah, AJ Styles won that match, and that was kind of like the beginning for AJ Styles. Like he said, like, that was like a moment where he proved he was going to belong there, and that just basically set off for the next year is going to be a year of AJ Styles. As he, of course, would eventually turn heel. He beat John Cena clean. He won the world title. He dropped, of course, to Shane McMahon, but he eventually would win it back later in 2017, and he would go on to cement himself as a legitimate player in WWE. Basically, we didn't know, but the MVP of 2016 just had his starting moment on this night for the Raw after Mania. But, again, hot crowds, fun moments, debuts and everything. A fun night for sure. And usually, I mean, I do hope that Mojo does come back again. But like I said, it's been years since we've had like a true on fire Raw after WrestleMania. Has the matching for this night died? Or could it come back? We'll have to find out. Vince is fully gone for sure. We're not getting, oh gosh, the 2023 Raw after Mania. Remember how bad that was? Like I said, I literally was this close to just stopping Raw and SmackDown reviews again because of that show. Because that was basically a slap of reality that Vince made his way back in. Oh, boy. But that's going to do it, guys. That is my review of WWE24's WrestleMania Monday. We're finally out of like the WrestleMania 32 era, so we're going to move on to other things. I believe the next one is W24's Finn Balor, which is very similar to what Seth Rollins' 24 special was. This is going to follow Finn Balor's journey back from his injury suffered at SummerSlam 2016 to his return the night after WrestleMania 33. And of course, eventually we will do one on WrestleMania 33, 24, but we'll get to that later on down the line. So yes, guys, we got 3 out of the way of tonight. That's very good progress. 10 down, 27 more left. What are your guys' thoughts on this WrestleMania Monday 24 special? Leave your guys' thoughts down in the comment section below. Be sure also, as always, to slap a like on the video and subscribe for more content on my channel. Follow me on Twitter as well, The Club of the Man 93. You may also follow me on TikTok and on Instagram at The Club of the Man 1993. And until then, guys, I'm checking out. And I'll catch you all later. Have a great rest of your night. And do not forget, in order to be superior to the man, you've got to be the man. And for I am the man himself. And that is not just an opinion, my friends. That is a fact of life. Yeah!